There are about 550 bags in here. Just got transplanted yesterday. Fast forward about 10 days in your mind, almost 2 weeks. This is kind of what they look like. Every environment is very controlled. We have these big industrial fans that kind of create somewhat of a vortex. So not only is it hitting the top of the canopy, it's also kind of coming from the bottom. Just for smell, really, I wish I could send it through the camera. But just for smell alone, you guys got to smell this. You're starting to smell a little bit more. The buds are a little bit more developed now. Full swing, pump out 1,000 pounds a month here. From there, they cut those buds off onto a table and put them all into this cure tube. And then they'll come right into here. So that's kind of a real nice nug there, nice finished product. Still needs to be trimmed up, but other than that, looking pretty good.
Like if you told little 15-year-old Joe he's just gonna be hanging out helping grow weed all the time.
Yeah, right.
I don't think I would have believed it.
Yeah, I had a couple misdemeanor charges. I was, over 18, so it'll always be on my record. It doesn't really make any sense to me that people can make such a big profit off of it, and my charge still exists. They're not going to wipe it clean amongst again, mine was minor. It was a couple misdemeanor charges, but for some people that are doing pretty hard jail time, a few years, it's kind of insane to me.
We got 5 dispensaries in the Kansas City area. One of our partners here, Dante West, Dante was incarcerated for cannabis. Here I'm in Missouri. We're around the same age. I'm 29. He's about 27. I just get up and go and about to produce a lot more than the 1 pound conspiracy charge that he was charged with. And he's over there sitting in prison.
I was incarcerated back in 2017 for a first-time marijuana offense in the state of Kansas, sending me to 7 years, 8 months in prison. My grandmother had passed away, which was leaving my little 8, 9-year-old brother going to school. I ended up getting out there, choosing a foster family for him. And it was the final ride with my brothers, and I never forget it. We ride in the back seat, and you just see 2 young boys, as we get closer to the airport, just bust out in tears. You don't only lose, your freedom, you kind of lose access to the loved ones, like the people that are affected by it.
When you talk about people being incarcerated for marijuana, that means they have been taken away from their family. They have been taken away from their career, their employment, their school, their life. Black and brown people are arrested at higher numbers, but they smoke no more than our white counterparts.
Drugs are wherever you look for them. If you look for them, at a wealthy high school, at the parking lot as the kids leave, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you're going to find them there, but you're also going to find them, at every other high school. The war on drugs was designed by individuals that had a bad motive, and that's well documented.
America's public enemy number 1 in the United States is drug abuse.
That is words from an administration and why they were going after particular people. Really, really harmed communities by removing a series of people in that community, usually fathers, usually a breadwinner. What are we achieving with this policy regarding drugs? And when I looked at that, we were achieving little. Should have been fought maybe through a public health lens instead of a criminal justice lens. Maybe we would be so much better off today.
Currently, there's about 20,000 people arrested every year in the state of Missouri for marijuana offenses, and the vast majority of those are for simple possession. So we want to have this be a legal, safe, and regulated and taxed product, and that means having it go through the legal market. And the amendment directs those $40 million of new state revenues to a few different places. First thing is drug abuse prevention programs, then also services for Missouri veterans, and finally, funding for Missouri's chronically underfunded public defender program. We'll also be expunging the records for all nonviolent marijuana offenses.
Automatic expungement to the degree that the burden of that is not on the person. If you have a record, you're going to be disenfranchised at the polls. You're not going to be able to vote. The funds would come from the sales of marijuana to pay for this expungement.
It also ensures that those that got licenses under the previous medical marijuana system would be first in line to get the adult use recreational licenses, which are far more lucrative. When you talk to folks that have apprehensions about it, it sort of falls into two categories. There's some that don't think it goes far enough with some of its provisions. But the big thing that comes out, especially when you talk to Republicans, is this idea that they feel like the medical marijuana system was corrupted, and they feel like that the recreational system is an extension of that. What they did in 2018 was set a minimum number of licenses that the state had to issue. They decided that to use that minimum as the base of how many licenses they would put out. I believe there was 192 dispensary licenses approved, which is more than a lot of states, but was far eclipsed by the number of people who applied. And when we're talking about this isn't like going down to get your driver's license. People had to invest a lot of money just to get to the point where they could apply. They had to buy or rent property. They had to start pulling in contracts for things like security. You know, a lot of times they had to hire lawyers or firms to help them draft these things.
The people who paid for this market are going to make sure that they get to keep that market. So let's say 60 cultivation licenses in the whole state of Missouri. Out of those 60, one guy can own 5 of those licenses. And then he can own 5 of the dispensary licenses, and then he can own 5 of the manufacturing licenses. Let's go back to the cultivation facilities. 12 people can own the entire grow industry. But I do want it to be legal, and I want everybody to have a piece of that market.
From simple investigation that we did last year, it showed that there were folks that far exceeded the number of licenses they were allowed to have simply because of how they structured their ownership group. They weren't technically the same company, where you had people who were connected through various businesses. You know, maybe they both owned the cultivation, but they had 5 licenses apiece for dispensary. Whether it violated the letter of the law, I could probably say no, and that's the department's take. Did it violate the spirit of the law, which was to try to diversify the market and get as many people involved as possible? I think that's unquestionably true that it did. And another big piece of this is racial. There's not a lot of evidence that there's folks from brown and black communities around the state were able to get a lot of these licenses. It creates the appearance of impropriety. And when you have folks that have suffered under the weight of the war on drugs, who feel like they're being locked out of the financial benefits of legalization, it's gonna create some acrimony and some bad blood. These microloans, those are the things that folks point to as sort of trying to remedy some of this. And I think it does get folks' attention that they are at least attempting to remedy some of the problems.
Everybody gets up and lives for somebody, especially after seeing my little bros cry in the back seat on the way to the airport. That really just gave me the sense of motivation to kind of get in there and get to work. But I just went in there and I just studied law, man. And the whole time I was writing 125 state representatives in the state of Kansas. About 3 years, 6 months into prison. Just wrote a motion. I ended up sending that motion in, and this guy comes and sees me. His name is Chris Biggs, former Secretary of State of Kansas. And 30 days later, man, I get a letter in the mail saying my conviction was overturned.
As soon as he got out, messaged him on Instagram, hit him up, we hit it off. He's actually my roommate now, so as soon as he got out, I took him in, I said, yeah, we'll get this figured out for you.
Let you know that we're officially open for business.
Yeah.
You know, the crazy story about Nate is he literally said, come live with me and just learn the industry. And the dude didn't even know me, right? It was the crazy part, man. The guy didn't even know me. Who else is like me that's in there that hasn't been revealed? Went out and did some, things with County Convicts and Last Prisoner Project. I wanted to give back to, all the other people that was incarcerated.
Special thanks to this guy, one of the smartest men I've ever spoken to in my life.
I helped her husband get out of prison in New Jersey and winning a New Jersey license. You can't get time back, so now you have to make the most with the time you got.